Hi guys, it's Miss Silva. Happy last lesson of notes. This is the last new set of material that we're going to go through this year. So we finish out again with a volume, and our last shape is a sphere. So a sphere, excuse me, is kind of like a tennis ball. We kind of crudely make a picture of that. So again, we can kind of think of a sphere as being like a tennis ball or an orange, something that has that shape like that. So in a sphere, when we take a look at the volume, how much we fill inside of that, it depends on just one thing, and that is the radius of the sphere. So if we know what the radius of the sphere is, then we're able to find the volume. And when we take a look at a sphere, we can actually also talk about one little piece that's a little bit different to that, and that's called a hemisphere. So a hemisphere is just half of a sphere. So hemisphere, and that is half of a sphere. And again, when we find the volume of a hemisphere, it is dependent just on the radius of that. So the volume for a sphere is given by the formula. Volume is equal to 4/3 multiplied by pi multiplied by the radius cubed. And when we do that formula, our units are going to be units cubed, because again, we're taking a look at 3 of those radii. Multiplying 3 of those units together would be units cubed. Excuse me. So let's take a look at a couple of examples. We've got 3 examples. The first one is given a radius of 4 meters in a sphere. Find the volume. So this is very straightforward using the formula, and it's going to be calculator friendly. So volume is equal to 4/3 pi r cubed, and we know that pi is 3.14, and we were told the radius is 4, so that's going to be 4 cubed. So we've got a fraction in here multiplied by some other numbers. So when I actually do the calculations here, the way that I'm going to plug this into the calculator is, let's see, hopefully we can see this color. In the calculator, we're going to do 4 times 4 times 4. That'll be 4 cubed, because order of operations we do exponents. And then I'm going to multiply that answer by 3.14 pi. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this fraction in 2 pieces. The top part of the fraction is just another part of our multiplication here in the numerator, because we could look at this as over 1 and over 1. So then I'm going to multiply by 4, and then I'm going to hit the equal sign. Okay, so I'm going to hit that equal sign, and whatever I get as my answer, then I'm going to go ahead and divide that by 3. Okay, so that's how we're going to use that fraction in there. So again, writing those steps out, let's go ahead and plug them into the calculator. Scoot this up here. There we go. All right, so I'm going to do 4 times 4 times 4. That's the radius cubed, multiplied by pi, multiplied by 4. That's our numerator. And then I'm going to hit the equal sign. Sorry, a little bit of a glare there. That gives me 803.84, and then I'm going to divide by 3, because that's the bottom part of our fraction there. And that gives me a number that we're going to round to the nearest tenth. So 267.94. And when we round to the nearest tenth, that's going to give us 267.9, and these were meters cubed. Okay, so again, we've got our steps for how to plug it into the calculator. This is a pretty straightforward volume problem. Given the radius, plug it in, come up with our answer. Let's take a look now if we are needing to work backwards. So if we are given the volume of a sphere, and if the volume of that sphere is 523.3 centimeters cubed, work backwards to find the radius. Okay, so we're going to use our volume formula. Volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. And we know the volume, so we'll replace that for our variable v. 4/3 is a constant, pi is a constant, and the radius is what we're going to solve for. Okay, so we're going to do some opposite operations here. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this fraction. I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. And that cancels out on this side of the equation. Multiply by my reciprocal over here. So when we do that, let's see, what do we get? I'm going to do 3 times 523.3 equals, and then I'm going to divide that by 4. Again, that's how we work with that fraction. You could also use 0.75 if you want to in the calculator. That would actually work out nice. It would still give you the same answer. So 392.475, and I'm going to keep all of those numbers in the calculator. The next thing that I'm going to do, opposite operations, is divide by pi, 3.14. Those cancel out. Nice family of 1. So 392.475 is going to be divided by 3.14. And that gives us, messy number, 124.9920. There's more numbers that in the calculator, but I'm going to just write that down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the cube root of this. Okay, so the cube root is what's going to undo this exponent here. And take the cube root here. And I'm going to just keep this, this answer in the calculator. And so my cube root button is a little bit different. I have to actually clear, let's see. I have to figure out how to use this calculator here. So the cube root, maybe not. Cube root of my answer. There we go. Again, this calculator is a little bit tricky. You might see that there's a cube root button on your phone. If you have a calculator on your phone, that might be a little bit easier to use. I'm going to just put my phone under here. Cube root button. Let's see, it should be right next to the square root button. So right there. So you could keep that number in there to be able to find the cube roots. Oh no, and it just disappeared. Let's see. I think what we had as our answer in there was 4.99, I believe. So again, rounding to the nearest tenth, that's actually going to round up to 5. So 5, what was our unit? Centimeters as our radius. Okay, so again, that's if we have to work backwards to find the radius. And then our last example is going to be finding the volume of a hemisphere, or a half of the sphere. So example 3, we've got a hemisphere. So sometimes we see questions drawn out, other times we see it given to us in words. This hemisphere has a radius of 1.2 meters. Okay, so we're going to find the volume. So 4/3 pi r cubed. Pi is 3.14. The radius is 1.2. That's cubed. Now remember that this is not a full sphere. So we have to remember that what we're working with in this question is not just a straightforward sphere formula, but we actually need to take that formula, and in the end, we're going to need to divide that by 2. Okay, so because this is a hemisphere, half of a sphere, after I take all of that and plug it into the calculator, I need to make sure I remember to divide that by 2. So let's do the part inside of the brackets first. Okay, let's try to fit both of these in here. So I'm going to start with my exponents. 1.2 times 1.2 times 1.2 times 3.14 times the numerator 4, and I'm going to hit my equal button, and then that gets divided by 3. That's the bottom part of our fraction. So we've got 7.23456. Oh, how funny, a series of numbers there. And remember, this is the number that was inside the brackets. That would be for the entire sphere, but since it's a hemisphere, we divide that by 2. So I'm going to just keep that in my calculator, divide by 2, and what does that give us? 3.61, and again, we're going to round that to the nearest tenth, so 3.6 meters cubed. Okay, so we took a look at all of the volumes of those circular shapes, cylinders, cones, spheres. And that finishes up our new lessons for this year. So the rest of the time, you guys will just be working on completing any work that hasn't been finished so far. I wish you guys the best summer. I know this is not the ideal ending to the school year, but I really, truly have loved all of our class time moments that we've had this year. Best of luck to you guys. See you later.